The coaching search is over in Georgia. And much like we would have expected, the team in Atlanta did the thing they weren't supposed to do at the time they weren't supposed to do it. Now, if you didn't hear this, perhaps not after an exhaustive search, that's an understatement, the Falcons hired Rams defensive coordinator Raheem Morris. He's going to be the head coach. He was in Atlanta. He was the interim head coach a couple years ago in 2020 during the pandemic, so nobody remembers that because who watched the Falcons during the pandemic? And he was the guy that was on Dan Quinn's staff, and then he replaced Dan Quinn. Now, the bigger story, though, is in the losing locker room. So the big story is in the losing locker room. Raheem Morris, he gets the gig. That means that Bill Belichick, who a week ago the insider crowd told us was, barring some last-minute snafu, going to get the job. He was the front runner heading into last weekend to be the head coach, and Belichick is on the outside looking in as he does not get the gig. The former Patriot coach now appears to be persona non grata. You look around, there's a couple jobs that are open, but are they really open? The team formerly known as the Redskins are expected to hire the Lions offensive coordinator, if you believe Boomer Esiason, and the Seattle football team is going to hire a guy that blew a 28-3 lead to Bill Belichick, allegedly. Although it's not official. That's the leader in the clubhouse for the Seahawks job. But let's focus in on the Falcons. And so let us discuss, why didn't Atlanta snatch up Bill Belichick as their head coach? So I've got sheep-like, Katy Perry, and machete. And we will tie all of these things together, and we'll get a commercial maybe like 10 minutes before the show goes on the air. All right, so in this chapter of the book, Arthur Blank, who is in his 80s, he acted not like a leader of a company. He acted like a coward. This is a cowardly act. Arthur Blank wanted to hire Bill Belichick. We all agree on that, right? And no one disagrees that when the coaching job opened up and Belichick was let go, he wanted Belichick. And as we mentioned, Belichick was in the lead for the job, and then something went haywire. Arthur Blank drew a blank. Right? He's supposed to be the boss. It's his team. And yet, in this part of the story, Arthur Blank comes across as sheep-like. He allowed some underling to talk him out of Belichick. And for whatever reason, he became nervous, apprehensive. Now, there's various stories on why that is. We'll get to that in a second. But a bunch of lower-ranking subordinates twisted the owner's arm. And you can stack this decision as the cherry on top of the poopy sundae of the Arthur Blank ownership run in Atlanta, one of the worst owners in the NFL. And it's like having a chance to go shopping on Rodeo Drive and instead saying, I'm okay, I just want to continue to shop at Dollar General. So the MALLER report card on Raheem Morris being hired, a D-. A D-. Now, Raheem Morris here, the new coach in Atlanta, he has no juice. This does not move the needle at all. He's got a cringeworthy track record. He coached the Buccaneers for 3 seasons years ago, and he no longer coached the team because the roster quit on him. I believe they lost their final 11 games of a season, if I remember correctly. We talked about it on these airwaves back in the day, and he was 14 games under 500 in Tampa. And I remember the mantra that he had. Raheem Morris was, well, you got to play harder, faster, smarter. The Tampa players took that harder, faster, smarter mantra, and they had a snack and took a nap, is what they had. And then he was an interim coach with the Falcons, went 4-7 during the pandemic. And so he's 21-30 in his career. Now, can people improve? Sure. Do people change? Obviously they change. But that does not alter the fact that this is a very pathetic resume, a weak-in-the-knees resume. And the Falcons interviewed 15 candidates. This is a dysfunction junction. What's your function? What are you doing? Seriously, what are you doing? All right, now, page 2 here. Will Arthur Blank end up regretting his decision to not hire Bill Belichick? So I'm nodding my head yes. I am nodding my head yes. The company line out of Atlanta that they're feeding the media elites, the insiders, is that the Falcons decided that they wanted to go with Raheem Morris for two reasons. The first one was because they were concerned about the short-term nature of Bill Belichick and his age. The second part of this is that they were worried about the power of Belichick, that he wanted to bring in all the old Patriots, all of his buddies, Matt Patricia and Josh McDaniels, and the whole band would be reunited in the ATL, and that rubbed the Falcons the wrong way. The irony here, the messaging that the Falcons are worried about Belichick being short-term. Well, I will guarantee you Raheem Morris is going to be a short-term hire. All right, the Dirty Birds, we will be having a MALLER monologue within the next couple of years. They will be back on the coaching carousel in a jiffy. And they miss out on Bill Belichick. It's pretty much like a Katy Perry situation. He will be the one that got away. He will be the one that got away. And you're worried about power. You've got a bunch of stumble bums who are running the franchise. Have you looked at your roster? What's it been, 7 years since Atlanta made the playoffs? And you're worried about keeping the people who are there? Are you stupid? Seriously, are you stupid? It's like having a shot, letting Belichick leave, having Belichick come in for a couple years, bring his guys in, sign Kirk Cousins, and make a run for it. You pass that up for Raheem Morris. It's like having a chance to buy an oceanfront villa with views, panoramic views of the entire ocean for pennies on the dollar. And instead, you're like, you know what? I'm just going to get my studio apartment downwind from the dump. Downwind from the dump with panoramic views of a penitentiary. That's right. You look at the prison yard. Now, that's a good way to go, right? Who wouldn't do that? It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It is so absurd. All right, last part of this. Now, what is next for Bill Belichick as he wants to break the record? He wants the coaching wins record, so he's got to coach again in a couple years to get that record. So what's next immediately is a nice fishing excursion. A nice fishing excursion. He's going to be 72 years old in April. So the musical chairs game is ending for this coaching carousel. As we mentioned, there's only a couple jobs open, and it appears Washington's already made their decision, and we think Seattle's close to doing the same without Bill Belichick. So Belichick, as the game of musical chairs on the coaching carousel comes to an end, he does not have a seat. He does not have a seat, and we know what happens in musical chairs if you don't have a seat. So he can grab some bench. He can also take a machete if he wants and slide into the Amazon with his machete, visit the glam team, get makeup and hair done there, wear your hoodie with a tuxedo bow tie, and go into television, become the curmudgeon of TV from the curmudgeon of coaches. Now, would he be any good at television? It doesn't matter. Have you seen the jockocracy that goes on with athletes? I'm convinced that the people that run TV networks, all they are worried about is having guys with big accolades. They don't care whether they can actually broadcast. These athletes, 99% of them are terrible at television, but they continue to get the jobs. And the coaches, a lot of coaches are terrible. Have you seen the former Cowboys coach on Sunday Night Football? Oh, my God. Holy crap. He is so bad. Man, and he's not even the worst. The clapper. But if Bill Belichick wants a gig in television, he can get a gig. Now, the other option would be to just kind of hang out and go into hiding a little bit and then just wait for Mike McCarthy to get off to a 1-4 start next year in Dallas, or Nick Sirianni to trip and stumble and fall down in Philly, and then you get a call. Or your beloved Giants, Brian Daboll, gets off to a slow start next year, and all of a sudden, hey, Bill, how would you like to coach the Giants? Maybe.